Void. Void.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Well, it's another show on Green Flag TV and the final part of our Sunday triple header. Welcome to Mobility Resort Motegi and to the next round of ASRL Xfinity Series competition presented by Purple Haze Autosports. My name is Ola Rempel alongside Scott Rankin. And Scott, what a wild racetrack this one is, right? I like to call it kind of like the bastard child of Darlington and Milwaukee, or Gateway, right? One of the two. It's flat, it is low banked, and boy, it's got that egg shape that Darlington fans seem to love oh so much.
Pretty sure this is designed to be the sister racetrack to Gateway. Of course, was designed for IndyCar's jaunt over into Japan all those years ago. Unfortunately, this racetrack has now fallen a little bit on hard times. You can't drive on it anymore. There's actually large cracks in the racing surface because of the regular earthquakes you actually get in Japan. So the track's fallen a little bit into disrepair. You can still drive the road course. That is still in operation. MotoGP goes there. I believe Japanese sports car racing goes there. It's a very, very popular racetrack. Go down, but it's really cool that we've got this racetrack preserved for us to enjoy.
Battle for the points lead still between Hagee and Brody Gunter. 16 points separate the pair of them. But of course, once again, all eyes turn to the 10th place positions. Only one between Nate Morris and Travis Fleming. And with only a couple of races to go before we get to the regular season finale, not a lot of time if Nate Morris wants to close that gap in and punch his ticket in. I think it's safe to say at this point, drivers like Case Campbell on back are probably going to be watching this championship play out from the sidelines.
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing for those guys, obviously, but you know, that's how she gets written, right? But the big thing is there is still a battle on, and there is still battles for a lot of these guys in terms of the points. I think the biggest thing that we're seeing at the moment is it's actually a battle for outright line owners each and every week as well. You know, how many different winners have we seen? We saw just utter dominance last season from the 01 machine and Brody Gunter, and this season it's not been the case. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's exactly what the series needed.
Right now, we are working into our 10th race, so 9 races complete, 6 different winners. Brody Gunter, Austin Call, and Mark Krinke have both taken a second win, but nobody has been able to take win number 3. With Brody Gunter currently top of the charts in qualifying, though, what are the odds that he can take his 3rd win of the season here tonight in Japan?
Really, really strong chance. This is a driver's track. Overtaking, though, is incredibly difficult. The problem is, generally with the car setups, is either you've got an exceptionally loose car or you are plowing tight as you come off of turn 2, and then you've got to get the car woed up. Actually getting the car on a pit lane is very, very difficult. This racetrack's exceptionally wide, so what it leads itself to is higher speeds, sort of entering the corners, and you're leaning on the tires quite a lot. I actually just seen Jarrell Williams clout the barrels on the way into pit lane, so his pit lane practice did not go well. Josh Rutherford did make pit lane entry, but it is a little bit more of a difficult pit lane to get onto, and the cars are quite unstable on cold tires as well.
Right now, 105 degrees Fahrenheit down on the racetrack, 69 in the air, so quite the disparity between track temp to air temp, and that could very well lead to its own problems at the course of the night. That hot track temp going to mean much higher tire drag. With 130 laps, that tire drag is going to be critical tonight.
Yeah, managing tires across that long run, and not just across the long run, but also across multiple stints as well. Remember, 130 laps here tonight, and we've only got 4 sets of tires to make that duration as well. So this is not going to be an easy one. This is going to be one where you've got to set yourself up, you've got to get yourself in and work on that race pace as well. So I would not be looking to take that extra set of tires too early. Make sure that we're preserving those, keeping ourselves in the bank. I do expect a couple cautions here tonight. It's just one of those racetracks that there's a big old bump as you come through 1 and 2, and that really unsettles the cars. Drive off, particularly early on in the stint off of turn 4, is exceptionally difficult to get. And it's quite easy to outbrake yourself on the run down of turn 4 as well.
We'll take a rundown of what your official starting grid is going to look like as we get set to duke it out for 130 laps around Mobility Resort Motegi. Started on pole this afternoon, it is Brody Gunter, a quarter of a second clear of Texas Independent Racing's Austin Call. Carson George brings it up in 3rd with Paul Ellison for the Alabama game back and forth. Then It is ESGI Motorsports' Rene Garcia in 5th. Jake Erickson is back in 6th. The drivers of Jarrell Williams and Kenny Hoffman closing out the top half of the field.
Yeah. And then from there on back, it is going to be Josh Rutherford and Alex Howland rounding out your top 10. Corey Rutherford, Mark Krinke off of row number 6. Matthew Croak and Travis Fleming off of row number 7. Dylan Grutzmacher and Stephen Tibbs. And finally rounding out the field, Nate Morris in position 17.
One driver.
Just noting as well, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Nolan, Josh Higgy actually didn't set a lap time, and I don't think he's necessarily in the server at the moment, so he actually may not take the start of this one.
Interesting.
Sorry, my apologies. He is in the server. He is in the server.
He just didn't set a lap time in qualifying. So, and
yeah.
Keep in mind, we were at 17 cars when qualifying began, so he is an extremely late entry, likely only registering for this race within the last, I would say, maybe a minute or so, because of how he flew under the radar. So your points leader is going to be able to get in. One driver that I want to keep an eye on now for this afternoon, going to be the number 1 here of one Kenny Hoffman for the Racecraft Academy. The Dude Croak Racing number 1 machine. He only has made 1 start in Sunday night competition, and that came at Auto Club way early in the season, so only a 2nd start, but start in the midfield. Could prove to be a bit of a shakeup for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, real opportunity for him as well to roll off and see if he can't find some speed. Auto Club is a phenomenal race as well, so, you know, that lends itself to, we should see something exciting here. You know, 18 cars is going to be a difficult one. I think the biggest thing, Nolan, I've already said it a couple times, but I'm going to state it again because it's just that damn important. Work your way into this race. Gateway, with a similar layout, and this place in Darlington, 3 racetracks where it is all about getting yourself into the race. You will not win that race early. There is no possible way to win that race early. I cannot stress how difficult it is to get this car settled underneath you and consistent that early run. Once you do it, the car will come to you. But if you go out there and you try and bang down the fences and really set a lap time very, very early on, this is not a track where the lap time comes from driving the wheels off it. This is a lap time, a track where the lap time and the long run speed is from being smooth, being cautious, making sure you're applying the throttle correctly. So this is not a go out there and wheel man this car. This is a settle it in, make sure that you're looking after everything, get yourself in line.
Last race we had here was with the Classic IndyCar Series 3 weeks ago. The race was completely frantic and it went down on time as a result of the cautions. This race going to be likely a lot slower, much more strategic based, but no doubt going to be no less entertaining. Green flag is out. It's go, go, go in Japan.
Yeah, power down on the way down to turn number 1. Watch them as they settle in down this end of the racetrack as well. I can tell you, Josh Higgy did make the race. He starts from pit lane.
So starting from pit lane, little bit down, but not out of the race, certainly, especially if we get one of those early race yellow flags. Austin Cole already back 1 as Carson George cleared him for the number 2 spot. Now George takes off down to the turn number 3. Cole will drop back into the number 2 spot. Well, it is Brody Gunter, as expected, leading the way at the end of lap number 1.
Have a look at the different lines as they come off for turn 4 as well. Carson George opted for that higher line. He couldn't get the had to wait so long to pick up the throttle, and that's allowed Austin Cole to immediately get back to his inside. The problem, he's now missed the bottom and slotting into that groove in 1 and 2. He's going to lose the spot to Garcia as well.
Gunter clear by about a second already. Did not take him long to absolutely run away with this one here. Ellison trying to look for the inside, takes out Garcia. Garcia slides, saves it. What a save from the 74. That is the caution that Haggy needed, and looking like Tibbs may have had an incident of his own.
Yeah, so 1 car immediately into pit lane, and that will be Tibbs. And he's out of the server, so I think this might have been a start and park for Tibbs. He's got some issues. He just come off of turn 2 and just locked it down.
We'll see. Coming out of turn number 2. Well, he does slide the tail end out pretty heftily. Spins her down to the inside. And, he is going to find the inside wall. That'll be why. That car is smoking and it is cooked. And there you see Garcia going for a ride. And that is incredible that he managed to hold on to that.
Yeah, so I will say on that one that missing the bottom down in 3 and 4 is a really, really bad thing. The reason that you miss the bottom when you're entering 3 is because you're too hot. This will be the ride on board with Tibbs. Again, you can see just how bad the impact was. So first shot was, I didn't quite see that one. Obviously heavy impact with barrier. But yeah, missing the bottom in turn 3. But watch this. Look at how hard these guys are pushing down the back straightaway.
Oh boy. You don't have to see a car get that far sideways and wrangle it together, do you?
Nope. Well, that's good wheel work, but also from everyone around him that gave him the room he needed to save that as well.
Unbelievable. One more time. And take a look at how far sideways this car steps out. That's nearly 90 degrees perpendicular to the racetrack. That is incredible. No doubt that transition down there helped him out a big time as well.
Yeah, that sort of did. But one of the things that is quite critical in that one is sometimes when you get to that sort of an angle, you actually don't want to lift off the throttle. Like having some throttle back in the car will actually help propel the rear end back underneath you. So lifting all the way out or jumping on the brakes is one of the worst things you can possibly do. It's sort of managing that throttle pressure, and it's quite critical to saving these race cars.
Well, the driver that benefits the absolute most out of this is going to be the driver that now runs at the number 11 spot, Joshua Hankey, in the ESGI number 7 Mustang. Started this race from pit road and was looking to be in relatively dire straits, but because of that, able to get up to the midfield as a result of both Rutherford's Crow, Grutzmacher, Fleming, and Krinke coming down to pit road. So this is exactly what he was hoping for. He effectively gets a mulligan now and can restart with the field.
Yeah, it'd be interesting as well. I don't see a lap time measure for him in practice or qualifying. So you're right. I think he did not get any preparation done tonight. So he's relying on preparation done earlier in the week if he has done any. If he hasn't, well, one of the benefits of those couple laps right there is he at least got a couple laps on the tires, couple laps to sort of start picking things up. So he's not coming in completely fresh on this restart. Big opportunity though for him to move forward.
iRacing pace car going to get set to make its turn in the pit road, this time by 18 cars started this race, 17 remain, and all 17 are still on the lead lap, with Steven Tibbs being the first driver down and potentially out. Green flag set to come out this time by, and we'll rack 'em, stack 'em, go at it again.
Oh, we will. But also, the big thing to watch on this next restart is how hard these guys are pushing. You can see, based upon how tight they get off of turn 1 and 2, how hard they push to the wall. Watch for them to get the power down.
And the wheel spin from the outside line, especially when Paul Ellison, the 55, you saw him jump out of line. Brody Gunter able to keep his nose out in front. And top 5 clear into turn numbers 1 and 2. Some drivers pushing right to the wall, others being a little bit more conservative with it.
Well, that's lap 1, remember? So they're not up to full speed when they enter turn 1, but the big thing is you sort of want to late apex it. You don't want to dive it in aggressively. Yeah, you saw that as well. Croquet was deep in there on the brake. But watch watch where he's running this car. Alex Howland just ahead of him on the bottom, and Nate Morris. But Morris is a long way up the track. He's going to lift down the throttle. He can't touch that throttle. If he keeps in the gas, he's going to keep pushing at the wall. That wears the right front tires. So this is difficult because you don't want to be up this high. And now he wants to sort of be arcing the car back down a little bit. And again, just no grip all the way up there. That's not the preferred groove.
Not the preferred groove at all. But it's the groove that is being chosen, and so long as he's not really fading back, I guess you would be hard-pressed to call the failure unless he's trying to get further up the road. Other drivers that are trying to make those types of moves, how about Jake Erickson of the Ben & Jerry's number 45 Supra to the inside of Jarrah Williams, trying to make the lunge down the inside of turn 1. Carson George right now kind of been a bit of a roadblock for both of them.
Yeah, that's the difficulty. Remember, George went for that big... Oh, sorry, it wasn't George. It was George that went for that big old slide. So the problem for George is that he's got a touch worth of damage on that left rear corner. And...
sorry, it was Garcia. Sorry
no,
to
you're right. It was Garcia.
correct you on that one. Oh,
no, and you're out here ruining my fun.
Well, Jared Williams almost ruined his own fun as he punted the outside wall out of 4.
Big thing for Carson George at the front end of this pack at the moment is he's just trying to hang on. See how he runs lower? So all those cars, so Jake Erickson's diving into the corner very aggressively in the Ben engineering scheme, but he's washing up the track and he can't get the car to pick it back down. So you've got to be a little bit more casual, a little bit more circumspect on your entry, and have a look at these guys, the level that they're on the brakes when they enter 3 and 4 as well. They're sliding, trying to get that rear end, just heat up a little bit, just stay greased. Because if that rear end gets to its optimal pressures and it's not maybe a little bit cooked, then sometimes the car can get stuck, you can't rotate the car at all.
So the 1, the 45, and the 85 all going to get set to go to war with one another. Jake Erickson still maintained at the top side of Kenny Hoffman in the Racecraft Academy #1. Still down low and just cannot get around the 45, but I think as Erickson misses the bottom in 4, Hoffman's going to sweep on through and say thank you very much.
The big issue is, when you dive into the corner that aggressively, you are asking a lot of the front tires, as we're actually going to see these guys go side by side as well. So Grutzmacher and Krinke going door to door. And when you ask a lot of those front tires, so what's happening when you're asking a lot of those front tires is you're diving it in and you're trying to press on, is that you're trying to turn the car and stop the car at the same time. Now, we've all felt this. Everybody in our road cars, as soon as you press on the brake, where does your weight go? Your weight goes to the front end of the car. When you jump on the brakes in a race car, same thing happens. A little bit stiffer, you don't get quite as much body roll, but you get a lot of weight over the front of the car. You're trying to brake the car and turn the car at the same time. That puts a lot of load through those front tires, and it's very, very easy to burn them off.
And especially at a track that's got kind of awkward, I'm trying to think of another word, right? But for lack of a better description, awkward banking the track width ratio. It makes it a bit of a struggle in of itself, right? I think that's kind of the best way to describe this track. It's very odd in the way that the layout is, right? It's not like your typical oval. It's very much X-shaped, 1 and 2, much wider in its turning radius than 3 and 4 is, which is a much tighter corner. The banking relatively the same from one end to another, but while the banking might be the same on paper, when you factor in corner radius as well, completely separate.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about is, again, we're talking about our comparison as it being Gateway. Well, the issue with Gateway is that it's got a lot more banking to it, right? So that sort of helps the cars to turn, but then you get this big hop as you come back up and out of the banking as well. Because you don't get as much support here because you just don't have that same degree of banking. So yeah, they're longer corners, they're very, very loaded corners here as well, because you've got to do a lot. You've got to slow the car down, you've got to pivot it, you've got to turn it, and then the critical factors is going to go 3-1. Ericsson's going to dive at the inside, past George is sliding backwards at the moment. They all survive. But it's the load in the corners. And the next time we go down through turn 1, and we need to get an onboard shot from before they enter turn 1, because it's about a third of the way through the corner. There's a big old bump down there, and that unsettles the car. You're sort of going to be pointing the car down the racetrack before that. If you're at the bottom, it's very difficult to keep the car at the bottom at that point in time. Oh,
that's a bit of a squeeze.
Check this out. Run down to turn 1. Everybody's bobbing for position. Watch Ericsson on the 45 right at the bottom. There, that big bump right in the middle of the corner.
Yeah,
and that's where the cars are trying to settle. Yeah. And look how long the cars oscillate for as well. It's that big bump, and then they're whack, 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 whack. Not quite settling back down again. And that's the difficulty here at Gateway.
It was that very same thing that caused several drivers at the Classic IndyCar Series race over here to actually crash in turn number 1. One of them even vaulting up and into the catch fence as well. So it's one of those things where, you know, the reason why these cars are not why they're not more effective, right, is because you're talking about, you know, 3,600 pounds here in these machines. Really helps these cars remain a lot more planted than the lightweight Indy cars that used to run here in days of old.
Well, you say that, but the Indy cars have a metric ton more downforce, right?
Oy.
Oh, he's not going to get the barrier. So that's what can happen, right? The car's started understeering. He wants to get to the throttle. He wants to keep pressing on with it, but he can't because he's waiting on the car to come to him. And if you just pick up the throttle a little bit too early, you end up out there and in the barrier. Rutherford was one of the drivers that pit under that first caution. He's cutting his way back through the field, talking about Josh Rutherford in the green and black 64 entry. He's actually driving really, really quick at the moment. So this track, remember, back to Richmond, won his first ever race. He's on a world of form. He's improving massively this season.
Real cork on the bottom moment for Kenny Hoffman. I mean, we haven't talked about this much, but there's Brody Gunter. There's Austin Cole. There's Paul Ellison. Rene Garcia all by themselves. And then there's Hoffman and everybody else. So Hoffman very much holding pretty much up the entire pack here with all this dirty air. The top four are just pulling away in packs at least of their own right now.
Yeah, but they've also got clean air to the nose of their cars as well. But watch Rutherford's doing here is he is entering quite a fair bit hotter, but at the same time he's at the bottom end of the track. He's braking much more in a straight line. Watch the exit out here. Hoffman's going to get the nose underneath him. He actually ran too low. So you sort of, if Hoffman could have crossed over and run that crossover line, his drive off the corner would actually be a lot better, but Rutherford just outbroke him going in, so.
He saw Hoffman try to stick it back down the inside, and that actually scares Rutherford into missing the bottom in 3 and 4, letting Hoffman start to get back to the tail end. And Alex Howland is just watching all of this battle. I have no doubt Howland's taking notes. He's watching this battle play out, and he's making note what works and what doesn't, so we can be able to get around whoever ends up winning in this battle when the time comes.
Well, I think Rutherford just won it, so he just needed that one lap where he wasn't being attacked, and he got it. So now he's good to go. Gee, that's an aggressive dive to the bottom of the racetrack, actually, for Howland. Keep your eyes on these guys. Higgie's on that slide backwards now, so he's burnt those tires off. He just needs to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more patient. Slide backwards just a touch. Be okay with it. But it's all about not overcharging the entries and trying to drive it off the right rear if you possibly can. And the other thing to think about, similar to turn 1 and turn 2 at Gateway, running the bottom doesn't necessarily mean that it's the quickest way around in turn 3 and 4. You want to be a groove and a half up and off the bottom because you can carry more momentum down the front straight.
You can see Joshua Hickey trying to look back to the inside, this time going up the bottom of the N64 Camaro of Carson George. He's taking such a shallow exit, though, and it's just killing his exits here. If he could track him a little bit tighter, he might have been able to side draft him down the straight. Now he'll be able to dive in and at least clear him in one, but he could have gotten that done sooner.
But look at the wash-up. He missed the bottom halfway through turn 1, so now he can rotate back to the bottom and straighten out that exit quite nicely, but George had a much better run through the middle of turn 1 and turn 2. It's a really, really complex little racetrack because you don't see many racetracks on the schedule where you got to run somewhat of a diamond line and it's coming down to the bottom and at different points in time. This is actually quite technical.
Very, very technical portion of the racetrack as you see Mark Krinke start to look to the inside of Carson George. While that's going on, Corey Rutherford picks off Dylan Grutzmacher towards the tail of the field. Krinke not able to get ahead of George. Kind of hugging too tight of a line at the bottom, and George is going to be able to pull back around him up top.
Yeah, again, momentum. But it's also rotating the car nicely. Very much about pointing the car at the exit and not getting back to the throttle too soon. You've got to have patience around here, but you've also got to get to the brake a little bit early. Make sure you find the bottom, and Carson George just missed it. That's going to let Krinke get back to his bottom, and more battling through the field as well.
You saw Krinke kind of get a little bit loose there as well, coming off at turn number 4. Got a little bit dicey there. I think this might have been the lap before. Checking back. And it was. So I don't think we'll be able to get the look on that. But yeah, kick that tail light out a good little bit. And that's one thing to note as well, right? I mean, with the transitions being what they are, it's easy to forget about that sudden lip coming off of turn 4 and turn 2. Very easy to catch drivers out if you're not careful and you get a lapse of concentration going. Oh, contact!
Boy, this guy's going to big one off the fence. And, well, it's the 1 and 2 cars. So how's that for next to each other in terms of number standing?
One wants to get back through.
Now Alex Hallam will say 2's more than 1, mate, so that means I'll have pace, so I'm coming through.
The duality, right? Is like 2 is a bigger number than 1, so obviously it's a better number because it's the biggest number. Meanwhile, one of them is like, yeah, but 1 is first place, 2 is second place. Get back here, I want to get back around you, right?
A lot of little intricacies like that. I'm really impressed with this drive from Joshua Rutherford. I'm really, really thoroughly impressed with this drive. He's just been on so much of an improvement streak of late. Thoroughly impressed for him.
He really has, right? I mean, Alex Howland kind of came in last season, not too much of, ran a very quiet season. I think, it's one of those seasons you're just kind of learning the ropes, figuring out how everything works, and now he's actually been able to make that move and make that drive, and it's paying off dividends for him. He's got some real good results as of late in his career.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, and sometimes you just go through one of those hot streaks and not streaks. Like, I can tell you, from a driving perspective, I'm in one of those not streaks at the moment, and it's one of those things where sometimes you're just making tiny little errors and they have big consequences, and sometimes you're driving the wheels off the thing, you're way over driving it, but hey, everything just works out, and it can be a little bit of both. It's one of the difficult dualities of being a car racer. If you were to sit down and say and you want to build your best driver, but you want to start at the lower level and sort of build them up, how do you take a driver from that? How easy is it to do? Well, the thing is, if you hand me a driver who's got oodles of pace, he's got oodles of talent, but he can't save tires yet, teaching that guy to save tires and teaching him to drive the car a little bit better is actually a lot easier than taking somebody who just can't drive a fast car at all, but they can save tire. I'd rather have that guy that's maybe a little bit on edge, a little bit pushing the boundaries a little bit too much, because you can just teach him. You can teach him to just hold back just that fraction. You can teach him to expand his toolbox, expand his driving skill set. You can't. It's much more difficult to take a slower driver and teach them how to drive the car much harder.
So what if you're a guy like me who does both, and we'll come back to that. Carson George into pit road here. So first green flag stop of the afternoon, and is this on schedule? It feels early, doesn't it? But at the same time, we've been green for a good while.
I mean, this does definitely feel early. The difficult thing for Carson George is, remember, he was sliding back through the field, so I wonder whether or not he's coming down to chase tires. The problem with that strategy, though, is that, well, first and foremost, lap times have fallen off about 2 seconds at the moment. We're very, very close to 2 seconds with the fall off on the bulk of the field. But number two, we're only 28 laps in. We're on our 29th lap right now. That's 30 laps. That only gets us to lap 120. So unless these guys can actually make another 8 or so laps here, and he's recognized he's got the ability to undercut, and he wants to use that, but that's a very, very early pit stop. If we go green from here to the end of the race, you will use all four sets of tires, one at every single pit stop along the way. And but if we don't, you're gonna want a set of tires in reserve.
Maybe it is on schedule. Brody Gunter and Austin Cole are both in the pit road, and everyone's coming in. Maybe this is the schedule. It looks like Joshua Rutherford will stay out. Everyone else is in.
Well, the thing for Rutherford is he pit under that first caution, so he took a top up.
Oh, and so did pretty much everybody else. So they're good to go by another few laps or so. The only one that didn't, in fact, was Joshua Higgy.
Higgy, that explains why Higgy's been falling back through the field. He's actually been fuel saving. That makes a lot more sense.
I see. So we're already starting the strategy games. Fuel only for Paul Ellison. Tires for Cole. Fuel only for Garcia, Erickson, Williams, Hoffman, and Morris taking 4.
By the way, Alex Hallam tried to make pit lane, missed it. So he had to come back around.
A good thing he made it in this time around with no issues. So he and Joshua Higgy now are the next two into pit road.
Curious to see how well this worked out for Carson George as well, because he's going to come back at speed and he will make some time, and I believe he's going to make some time relative to Kenny Hoffman as well. So that has probably worked out for him. 4 tires as well for Higgy.
And fuel for Howland.
Oh, fuel only for Howland. That's okay. That is really interesting.
So I think one of these stops is going to have to be a fuel only, and a lot of drivers are choosing to just get it out of the way earlier, bite the bullet in a sense.
Well, the reason they do that, Nolan, is that if we get a caution anywhere through this race, you want an extra set of tires.
Yeah.
If you take 4 tires at this front end of the stage, effectively you have less options later on. You're sort of locked into the strategy that you're on. Whereas if you save your set of tires early and take your fuel only stop very early on, you're actually in a much better position.
Kind of going back to our discussion that we had earlier, you were talking a lot about, you know, how it's easy to train a guy to back out more than it's easy to train a guy to, you know, speed up. What if you're a guy like me who does both and neither simultaneously? I try to be fast, but I'm slow in doing so.
We just don't train you. We walk away and shake our heads.
So that's why I'm commentating. That is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we hand you a microphone instead of a steering wheel.
What's the I think the way the phrase goes is those that can't play commentate, those that can't commentate coach, and those that can't coach find another sport.
Yeah. Except I believe the quote is those who can do teach, those who can't teach gym. No, is it those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach gym?
There we go.
I think it's the quote. We got that. Troy Rutherford's managed to go the extra couple laps here as well. That's quite critical.
Troy Rutherford able to go some extras, and here's a bit of a battle. 4 cars under a blanket. Krinke, Eriksson, Grutzmacher, and more under a blanket. 4-way battle for the number 7 spot.
I think this will be the group of drivers who didn't take tires on their most recent stop as well, so this will be really interesting to keep an eye on. Krinke, Eriksson, Williams, and Grutzmacher. Yep, all 4 of those drivers no tires. Kenny Hoffman, Carson George both did take tires. They're in behind them. There was quite a significant amount of fall off from the guys who didn't take tires. So these guys will start motoring on to run these guys down very quickly.
There is Kenny Hoffman, one of the drivers that is on fresh tires, quickly cutting his way through the field. 3 in 1 corner.
Well, it's critical when you got fresh tires to get a move on, but that was a risk. He nailed that, though. I'm impressed.
Hey, no content. Fair play.
Yeah.
And people often say, you know, oh, like it was a bad move, but my thought is, if you don't hit the guy, fair game. If you can do it.
Then again, the super speedway racing where the whole goal is to hit the guy, but it's hit the guy ahead with speed.
Well, you don't want to hit them in a specific point. You want to hit them in a very specific point, right? It's the rear. Not the left rear, not the right rear, the center rear. And even then, it sometimes doesn't work out. As several can attest from the high tide race. Not the high tide race, sorry, the SRA race just last night.
They've just moved over to the 87s as well, the Legend cars, haven't they?
No, they were going to run the Gen 4s. They have opted instead for the ARCA cars.
Interesting. Anyway, now Carson George shows up on these guys with tires, gets the job done. I do wonder whether or not Higgy was saving fuel.
Well, I can tell you right now, he wasn't saving tires because he took 4 on that stop.
Now, he ran 30 laps on that first run, but that was with some safety car help. The difficulty is to get these cars home on a 3-stop strategy. You need to run 33 laps on at least one stint. 33? At least 2 stints. Sorry, my apologies. At least 2 stints. You got to do 33. The rest of them is 32.
Boy, careful there. Higgy wanted to clear across the nose of Carson George. They're going to split Dylan Grutzmacher, who's going to do a great job to just hold his line and allow the 2 to facilitate the pass. That's the type of thing we like to see, right? Don't weave around. Don't try to get out of the way. Just run your line. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, the guys on tires have got more grip. They've got more ability to move around the racetrack than you as well. Right, so quite critically is that Josh Rutherford, now we're going to start talking about fuel. I don't necessarily think, with the way that this is panning out right now, I think we're done with the cautions, barring issues with cold tires. So this is where fuel starts to become incredibly critical. Now, why is that majorly important? Josh Rutherford is the single best placed car. When did he pit? He pit at the end of lap 33, but he needed a pit stop at the end of lap 2 to make that happen under caution. He needs to back up, start saving fuel. The thing is, no tires at his most recent pit stop. Why is that very, very important? As we see a change for the race lead as well, is that his pace will fall off massively.
Austin Call takes the lead of the race, and we have our first kind of official on-track lead change of the night. Dylan Grutzmacher, meanwhile, now trying to go around the long way of Corey Rutherford, but Rutherford's got fresh tires, so it's not going to happen. So he gets away! Grutzmacher slides it out and nearly catches the fence.
Well, I just said we might not get another caution for the night, and Grutzmacher's trying to prove me wrong.
Boy, no kidding. That was a bit of a wild moment there. Take a look at this one coming off at turn number 4. Went around the outside and I think just slipped a little bit too wide, you know. Easy to do, and look at how far sideways this car gets and how close he came to clipping that outside wall. Just barely keeps it off of it.
I'd rather have a touch loose car. I'd rather have a car that's a touch free than a touch tight, because you can do something with that. You can drive around that. If your car's tight, you just end up trending tight. But ultimately, I think that one was actually caused by him being, you're right, so high up the racetrack. But more importantly than that, because the car might have been a touch too tight, he's had to add a lot of wheel to it. When it gets to the exit of the corner like that, it gets loose when you've got that much wheel in it.
Kenny Hoffman also on fresh rubber, about to get around Rene Garcia, who's already been punted sideways once tonight. And not going to happen again, at least not yet. So Hoffman gets through into 4th. Garcia maintains his strong run in 5th. Josh Rutherford back in 6th, Hagee in 7th. And once again, we're starting to kind of bottle up behind cars that are on old rubber.
I think the critical thing is, though, where Rutherford's placed, yeah, he's about half a lap, a third of a lap, somewhere in that realm behind our race leaders. But if he makes it on fuel, it don't matter. It don't matter. He will be totally fine in terms of what he's able to do. But he's got to connect those dots. The big problem is that this track is a lot bigger than that at Gateway. We're out at 1.5 miles. For this one, whereas Gateway is a lot smaller, so the straights are smaller. You can save a lot more fuel. You can do a lot more lift and coast. You can do a lot of lift and coast down into turn 3 and turn 4. You can do a little bit of lift and coast early on the run down into 1 and 2, but your pace will drop off a fair way. So when you've got bigger speedways like this, fuel saving's harder to do because the reason for it, much bigger pace fall off. So that's why you tend to see a lot more fuel saving at short tracks, a lot less of it at these bigger tracks. I'm not hearing fuel saving out of Josh Rutherford. I don't know he knows that he's really... I say that, and then he jumps on the clutch. Okay, never mind. Ignore what I just said.
So, what have you learned? We keep on having this discussion, right? We shouldn't try to anticipate what a driver's going to do, because they're just going to prove us wrong anyway. And every time, one of us does it anyway, we end up having the same conversation.
Big issue for Rutherford, though, actually, is he's letting Corey go at the moment, so that's why it was a long way up the racetrack. But if you're gonna fuel save, it's actually, you want to do it down to the 3 and 4, and the reason for that is you'll lose less time. So he does clutch on the way in here, and you can see a lot of pace loss in the middle of the corner, but you've also got to pull the car up. So he drove it in quite deep there, needed to clutch in a little bit earlier to rotate the car nicely. And then you actually want to clutch a lot more back down at the end of the back straight.
Corey Rutherford screams on through. Rene Garcia still remains tucked in line for 7th. Now, about halfway through what we expect to be our second stint of the night. kind of take a look at all the drivers that are still in the running of this one and what their stint lengths were over on the first bunch. You can see some drivers coming down under the lap 4 yellow, right? But for the most part, you know, around 29 to 30 thereabouts. Yeah, about halfway through, just shy of it.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, is those few drivers that just extended that all we needed was that caution probably happen one lap later, and this would be a much easier mission than what's going on at the moment. The tricky part for Josh Rutherford is that his pit window to get home is probably the end of lap 66. And he's got to run another 33 laps to do that. Now, he is on older rubber, and his lap times have fallen off significantly, so I want to see from him 33 laps minimum on this stint, because he's on older tires, and then he's got to run 32 laps on the next 2 stints. If he can do that, he's actually on track to, I would say, win the race, because we're watching Carson George when he went about a lap and a half down. Wasn't a full 2 laps, but it was enough more than a lap. So he's got a lot of wiggle room. And reminder that our race leader is Austin Cole. He's on fresh tires, so the race pace is going to swing back the way of Josh Rutherford at some point.
You just saw your points leader get up in a third as well, continuing on the recovery drive after having to start his race from pit road. Carson George gets around Rene Garcia. Boy, Josh Rutherford getting a little bit flirtish with the outside wall. So 85 and 74 remain in their strong momentum here. Not seeing too much to disrupt the run, unless Kenny Hoffman actually going to get back around Joshua Haig. I'm a bit surprised at how the 7 would run it down, how quickly Hoffman got back by him.
I mean, he ran him down like crazy. So, I mean, he's driving the wheels off that thing at the moment. I am a little bit worried about Higgy. He just doesn't seem to have the speed on the tires at the moment. Like, he's struggling. Whether or not he's also had to think about fuel mileage, and this being a little bit more of a fuel mileage race, I don't know. But the other thing is, he could be trying to focus. If he's going to double stint these tires on this next run here, he could be thinking about the back end of that stint.
Oh, you're not wrong. If a run's going to go long, you could be the one you want to do the double stint of the tires on, so you're not caught off guard by a yellow flag. And I mean, we've been green since what, lap 7 or so. So I think, honestly, if I'm people in this field, knowing how ASRL races go, I would not blame them for believing this race is going to go green the rest of the way. I mean, Auto Club of all places went green the entire way.
Auto Club's wide though. You got a lot of room, and this track is quite wide as well.
Yeah,
the difficulty with this track is that it's the racing groove is actually quite narrow. He just had a massive slide coming out of force, and his rears are starting to go away. Good Sparker cutting his way through, doing a nice job. Again, differing tire strategies at the moment. We're just waiting. We're about 10 laps away from the next round of pit stops, and that one's going to be very, very important.
You see Travis Fleming way up wide in turn 4, trying to let these guys get up and around each other. Kenny Hoffman and Joshua Haig in the meantime, remaining 3 and 4. And now this is the lone battle that is under a second right now here at Mobility Resort Motegi for round number 10.
Pretty nice for Josh as well, having to start from the back end of the field. He's lifted the pace again. You see that? All of a sudden, he just dove back in on Kenny Hoffman and found a ton of speed on the entry.
He's cooking something, isn't he?
There's something going on. Like, it's just weird watching him drive the racetrack.
I wonder if he's kind of playing around with Hoffman. I mean, he knows he's got a points gap, but it's a huge points gap, right? I wonder if he's playing with Hoffman a little bit. He just wants to have a little bit of fun. Actually race somebody for once.
Well, look at the angle on that one. I mean, maybe, but the lap speed on that most recent lap was actually very, very similar. They just generated it in very, very different ways. Higgy found a ton of time on the entry to 1 and 2. The other thing for Higgy is that he knows he's going to get fed dirty air in the middle of the corner, so he's got to set the car up a little bit different, drive it in a little bit different. And one of the ways you can do that is to dive it in, but you've got to be very patient. When you dive a car in hard like that, you've got to be very patient out the other side, because if you're aggressive on the throttle, that's where you burn off the right front. So here comes the first round of pit stops.
Travis Fleming laps down, is the first one to bail to pit road in the second round of green flag pit stops this afternoon. Already running last on the racetrack, so not really losing much by coming down early. It's like kind of may as well. See what happens. Paul Ellison in as well. A bit of a lockup on the way in, but gets it slowed down. And here comes your race leader as well, Austin Call.
He drove that stint very hard. That's 24 laps on that fuel run for Cole.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking he's a splash and dash at the end. What Austin's going to do here is that he's going to shorten up his final stop. But the thing is, if you want to shorten up your final stop, that also means that you're going to have to do a long run on tires at some point. And the longer you go into the race, the further that you make that. Or, alternatively, the whole field's coming down now, which means for these guys to get to 30 laps was actually a stretch on the field.
Which would make sense, given we ran 4 laps under yellow, so that could translate to, you know, maybe 26, 27 laps, maybe 28 in reality.
But if that's the case, the math ain't mathin'. Because the difference between 24 and 30 laps is 6, realistically. And don't forget, we had to throw a formation lap in before we actually went green as well. So that doesn't work, which means if that's the case, I just don't know that Rutherford's going to make the end of the race. I was assuming the fuel stint was about 28 to 30 laps.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm trying to do the math, but math has never been my strong suit, and it's making my head hurt. It's not wrinkling. I can feel the brain smoothing a little bit here as I try to put this together.
What did we say off air to Corey? I don't do math. I'm not here to do math.
Yeah.
Apparently I am.
You said that at the thought of having to add like 1 or 2 bonus points manually.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing 1 or 2. No, I'm not doing bonus points. Fuel math, though. I can do fuel math.
There you go.
So the critical thing is the guy I was keeping half an eye on was Kenny Hoffman, and so everyone that's just pit is actually undercutting. Which is weird. Oh, the other thing is the track temps actually come up a fair way as well, so that will also force the pace to drop off.
114, up from the 105 that it was at the top of the show about 40 minutes ago.
My lord, Josh Rutherford is doing some saving.
Usually it's his brother Corey Rutherford that's doing all the saving work.
Yeah. I mean, the furthest we're seeing guys go at the moment is about 28 laps in the green flag racing. So that means that caution gain is 2 laps in the fuel stint. But both of the Rutherfords ran 30 on that most recent stint, and just about all of that was on the green flag racing. So it's doable. And I don't think they were saving that hard in that first run. It's a lot that they've got to do.
There's Higgy in a pit road. There's Call trying to retake the lead. He's got to get around a few cars, so he's being bogged down a little bit by traffic that is yet to come down to pit road.
Well, that's Austin Cole after his pit stop retaking the lead, so that is quite critical as well. But that is another car, again, that has taken tires, whereby a lot of these other guys have not. So he will have a penalty to pay, and it'll be at the back end of the race. And the reason Austin's come early is he wants to make use of those fresh tires. And the other thing is, the reason I was saying he wanted to extend this stint was he wanted to run as far as he possibly could on this set of tires, as far as he possibly could. What it does is it shortens up. So he's going to have to do a splash and dash stint at the back end of the race. You want that splash and dash stint to be as short as possible. How do you do that? By running longer stints early on. And the reason to do that is because you want... effectively, you want to run, if you can run 28 laps on a stint, that's fine. 28, 28, 28, you're left over with a lot less laps. Whereas if you run, 24 laps, you're going to be on older rubber for a lot longer time, basically, when you do, there's no gain to effectively short pitting when you have to take a splash and dash. You want to run it dry.
Croak and Krinke, the next two in, and Rutherford, the big tank slapper coming off the corner. Dylan Grutzmacher also into pit road this time. So 3 more coming down, still waiting, I believe, on Joshua Rutherford and Corey Rutherford. They will be the last 2 to pit in on this pit stop window, and Corey is staying out again, trying to go to halfway.
Yeah, 65 is the critical lap number to get to halfway, but I want to see from these guys 66, and the reason I want to see 66 is they're about to take tires.
Now, here's the, this is the other really tricky thing, right? He's losing so much time. Paul is only 11 seconds behind him. Rutherford's going to be a lap down, guaranteed. I feel like I'm all for field strategy to try to cut out a stint, but it's not worth it if you can't gain it back.
Well, yes and no, but the thing you've got to realize is that right now we're running 1.7 or so seconds off of their fastest times on the night. The 2 seconds. They're right up and around that 2 seconds off, whereas right now, Austin Cole is taking 1.5 seconds a lap out of these guys because he's on fresher rubber. That will flip-flop, and again, I think Austin Cole has actually gone too far on the undercut. So he will have to pay back a penalty at some point. The problem is we won't see that until the very end of the race. It'll be the last sort of 15 laps or so that he will have to pay that penalty.
Whoa! Hello! Look out! That's a wall, my friend. Keeps it off the wall. Fires it back down. That's going to waste a little bit of fuel, and, well, 2 laps before he hits the halfway point. Could do it if he can just save a little bit more.
He's on the clutch so hard. And the thing is, it's a big lift as well. Down in 3 and 4, you actually want to clutch as much. You want to use the engine to help you brake, because you do have to pull the car up. So if you're on the clutch, you can lift effectively earlier and not lose as much. The thing I think for Corey and Josh is that they're still trying to attack 3 and 4 quite hard and carry speed quite deep, and that's not how you do it with the clutch. You actually want to lift earlier and not have to use the brake, basically, is how you apply that.
Halfway home this time by, and we continue to wait to see if Corey Rutherford can go the distance. Oh, I mean, I think it's safe to say he can't go the distance because he's going to be at halfway next time by. Now, does he pit this time or does he go one more?
I think he's pitting. I think he just called on the radio that he is pitting. Now, if Josh can go the extra lap,
he can't. He's already in.
He can't. Yeah. Okay. So Josh is in an even bigger hole. And the thing I think from Josh was that, remember how I said I spotted him, he wasn't lifting. Oh, all of a sudden he is lifting. I think that's actually when he clicked over to fuel save mode. And that's the difference between him and Corey, is that Corey recognized it a lot earlier, started saving early, which means the amount of saving he had to do is less.
So
the problem here is that Corey's only gone 30 laps on both of those stints. He needed to go further than that.
So that will put Austin Cole back to the point. Corey Rutherford in second, Brody Gunser back in, well, now into second, and it'll be Paul Ellison likely going to third with Hoffman to fourth, unless Rutherford can get out before they get to him, but odds of that very unlikely. Yeah,
this is... See, I thought the fuel numbers were closer, and that's why I was making a recommendation for that strategy. If the fuel numbers were tighter, then it's very, very doable. Whether it's, generally 1 or 2 laps worth of saving you can do. Anything beyond that starts to become a lot. It's easy to do at road courses, surprisingly, even though they have longer laps. And the reason it's easy to do at road courses is a lot more braking zones. Every time you have a braking zone, that is a section of the racetrack that you can burn fuel, but the gains will be minor on the way in. So basically the fuel saving is extending your braking zone, so you just lift earlier instead of chasing the car in. You can't lift on a straightaway, because lifting on a straightaway, the first second that you lift, you might lose a half a tenth. The second second, well, you've lost that half a tenth in terms of speed and more, so it might be a full tenth. The third second, it might be a tenth and a half, so it sort of keeps escalating, whereas in braking zones, you lift off a little bit early, you lose a little bit in the initial part, but then the cars ahead of you are slowing down, so the gap's just not as much. So that's why you want to make gains in those zones.
So what I'm hearing basically is, because we obviously know some drivers do watch these while they're in the car, if anybody has made their strategies based around your calls, they should blame you for ruining a race, right?
100%. Yeah, lock it in. But the difficult, and this is where you sort of gotta use your head, is where can I get to? And you've got to look at, whenever you're doing race strategy like this, you actually start from the back. And what you want to do is start from the end of the race, know how far that you can take the fuel, and then work your way backwards. And then you sort of adjust in for a little bit of leeway, and then that gives you the window. So if the fuel window here tonight, for example, was, I'm just going to use a number here. Let's say it's 30 laps. 30 laps backwards, lap 100. 30 laps back from that, lap 70. 30 laps back from that, lap 40, which means the critical window to get home starts on lap 10, because from there you can connect those dots. Now, if I need to save 5 laps of fuel, and I last pit at the end of lap 5, I can do that. Across 4 runs, that's a lap a run, plus I've got to find another lap somewhere. And if I've got to save a set of tires, we can do that. That's not too bad. But it comes down to now, if the distance is 28, or 28.102, then becomes the critical window to get home. Back from 102 is going to be 76. I'm sorry, no, it'll be lap 74. From lap 74, it will then be lap 56. 56 will be lap 28. Yes, that is right.
One thing that I'm noticing as well, Joshua Hickey over here, 26 seconds in the box. That is a very long stop. Not long enough for a penalty, though. What happened to the 7 car?
That's something. That's some sort of issue that he was trying to resolve. So that might explain his speed issues that he's been having.
Huh. What do you reckon? Maybe unplugging a wheel and plugging it back in?
Something like that would be my recommendation, or restarting an app, or he was waiting for the fuel to finish, or the car did. You know what it might be, is that his fuel was turned off, or his tires were turned off, and he adjusted that in the pit stop. So what happens is when you make those adjustments in the sim, is that we'll wait for the pit stop to finish before doing the pit stop adjustments that you had. So if you said, I want fuel, and then you went, oh no, I want tires as well, it'll do all the fuel, and then it'll stop filling the fuel, then it'll go out and do tires.
Hickey right now is matching the lap times of most other drivers that have taken tires, so I am willing to bet it was tires that he failed to check.
Yeah, so a little bit of a mistake there from him, unfortunately. But he's still on the lead lap, and that's the critical part here.
Rene Garcia being put under some fire now. Hickey has gotten clear of Corey Rutherford, and now looks set to charge after his ESGI Motorsports teammate in the number 74 Supra off the road.
It's an interesting one to keep half an eye on as well, because Josh Hickey stopped 4 laps later. I'm pretty sure both of these guys took tires.
They did. Everybody back to Kenny Hoffman took tires on that stop. Hoffman the first one that took fuel only.
So the big game for Hickey was going to be that he should be, in essence, 9 seconds down the road, in which case he'd be sitting 3rd on the road, and he'd only be about 25 seconds off the race lead at this point in time, and he'd be making gains towards race leader, but he's not. And again, you can just see him, he's lifting just a little bit early, just trying to make sure that he is rotating that car nicely, turns it down the racetrack, so he's driving a very, very different line through 3 and 4. See how straight he's trying to drive the exit? It means he can use so much more power. So while Garcia makes a ton of ground on the entry, and you're right, he might just be playing games tonight. He might just be having fun.
Bit of a bump there. I think telling this teammate, hey, you want to go a little quicker, or do you want me to get around you? He might get around him here.
Oh boy, he's loose though.
We could have seen that coming. Garcia lifting way early. I think message received. So as that Dylan Grutzmacher and Carson George will exchange hands. Tell you what, I mean, for a race that's gone green most of its distance, there's still been a lot of close battles all throughout this race.
Yeah. Croak's actually just coming to the pit lane, I thought. I heard. So we could be starting to see next round of pit stops here. An actual fact, remember how we were just doing those numbers on 28 laps? Well, what was our pit stop window? It was lap 74, so we are now in the window to get home on 28 lap stints.
Interesting.
If you want 27 lap stints, lap 76.
Well, Croak is indeed into pit road this time by. Well, Corey Rutherford picks off Rene Garcia. Now, looks set to do the same with Higgy. He is on nearly 10 lap pressure tires. Then the 70s on 11 lap pressure tires. Then Garcia 2 cars back now.
How about Corey Rutherford driving his way through the field? And remember, he's on a better fuel strategy as well. The biggest benefit for Corey Rutherford is that his splash and dash at the end of the race, he pit at the end of lap 65, remember. So his splash and dash, so if he can run 28 from 65, gets him to 73, gets him to 93, 28, oh boy! 28 from, what did we just say? 28 from 95, gets him to 103, gets him to 123. So he's got a very short splash and dash.
On board Higgy. Just kicked that tail end out a little bit. Kind of got sucked into the wall when the tail end clipped it.
Yeah.
Well, racing action continuing on. We'll take ourselves a quick step back when we return. There's more racing action coming at you on Green Flag TV. You won't miss a second. We're going side by side. Stay with us.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back to Green Flag TV, racing action continuing on. Pro Mobility Resort Motegi, only one yellow flag on lap number 4. We are now working well into the second half of this race, and second round of pit stops are underway. Third round, sorry.
Did elect to come for fuel only this time, so he is now on the older rubber. And they're all starting to get at the back end of the fuel windows here tonight as well. So, the big one that we've got to keep half an eye on. Corey Rutherford's made a ton of ground. He is only halfway through a fuel stint. He's got a very, very quick race car, and he's doing some fuel saving at this point in time. So, he's actually in a reasonable spot. Looks to be on track for potentially a podium.
See Alex Howland attacking pit entry behind, taking a bit of an aggressive line, really straddling the line of turns 3 and 4. Take a look at this. That's an aggressive entry line for this track, and that could gain him a spot or two if he keeps that up.
Yep, being aggressive. Sometimes you got to get that speed. You got to attack. I mean, if you back it up and you don't try and make time on the way into pit lane. Well, even a race car driver, sometimes there was calling a race last night where a driver had a 10-second lead, and those opportunities, you want to underdrive the entry, particularly when the entry is the pit lane entry at Dover as well. There's no reason to be taking risks with that pit lane entry. But if you're in a fight, this is critical. You can lose seconds on how you attack the pit lane entry.
So right now, still waiting on Corey Rutherford, Joshua Hagee, Mark Krinke, and more. About half the field has come down for their second stint. And while people are coming down for their second stints, no doubt drivers trying to maybe even make some adjustments to their ever-important setups. Some of these drivers might want to be racing open, but not sure if their setup is up to snuff. They might want to race something made by someone that knows their stuff, and I'm sure people in the chat now wondering why we're asking random questions in a rhyming fashion like a poetry buff. Well, the answer you can find at twrsetups.com. Their setups are meticulously crafted and personally run by their top-tier drivers to ensure that you get the best there is. So don't delay. Join the wild side of setup shops today. As far as segues go, I wouldn't call that one bad.
Horrible. Needs work, though. You need some polish on that.
Yeah.
Keep working at it. You'll get it one day.
Struggle to find the script a little bit on that one in my, like, mountain of notes. Because it's like, listen, my system for organization for broadcast notes is I have no system. Everything is, like, compiled in one giant Discord channel. And I just, like, scroll through frantically to find things.
I would like to sit here and pretend that I have the high ground, and yes, I absolutely
we know you
do. No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try.
I know you enough to know that you don't. You're no better than I am. That's what makes us so good together, I feel.
Right? That's, yeah, we are just organized chaos. We're changing the name from Green Flag TV to Organized Chaos Broadcasting.
I hate that doesn't even sound terrible. That'd be great for a super speedway league.
Not wrong. Austin Cole's losing a little bit of track position at the moment as he goes on the long run on those tires. I am wondering whether or not Corey Rutherford is still on the fuel save strategy because he's been shuffled out. I know Renee Garcia's on fresh tires at the moment.
Oh, Brody Gunter making the move on our Krinke. Again, fresh rubber coming into play here. Krinke has not yet come down to pit road either. So that move puts Gunter into third, and that will be net P2. He is 10 seconds behind the Skittles number 18. Oh, Corey Rutherford starting to have a few flashes.
Yeah, and Josh Rutherford would be the same as well.
Oh,
those two,
boy!
That was a hot entry from Ericsson.
I thought for sure he was overshooting.
Nope, got it pulled down really nicely, actually.
Yeah.
He took the angle. There you go. Oh, that you want to tie one? That one. Not even a lock on the brakes, though. Come on.
Well, if he did, he would have found the wall.
Well,
you can tell that drivers are getting a little bit more confident on their entries here.
Yeah. Well, later in the race, it means a little bit more as well, so you're going to push a little bit harder. This is actually going to be a really, really interesting end of this race, just because of how far off sequence Austin Cole is. So he's got 50 laps at the end of this race when he pit at the end of lap 79. So, he actually had 52, so he needs 226 lap stints to get home. Now, 4 sets of tires tonight. We know that he used one in the first stint, we know that he used his second after his first pit stop, and I'm pretty sure he's used his third. So he's only got one more set of tires. So he's going to get to about 26, 27 laps from home here, and then pit to make sure that he gets all the laps on those tires. The problem with that strategy, if there is a caution that flies at any stage in that back half of the race, he will be on old tires, he will fall like a rock, there's nothing he can do.
It's been quite a race for the strategy games today. I mean, the Classic IndyCar Series race at Interlagos earlier today was almost entirely decided on strategies between Cameron Dance and Thomas Moostonen. And that battle, Moostonen had extended his lead in that race to about 7-8 seconds. Cameron Dance from New Zealand had been steadily running him down. He had brought the gap to within 2.5 with less than 10 laps to go. And unfortunately, he got caught up by a lapped car. Had to drop back as a result because he had to go evasive and nearly take to the grass. Lost a few seconds, but he did bring him back within 2.7. We asked him after that race, and he had said he thinks he would have caught him had he not been caught up in that. So, 2 races now going down completely on strategy. And it's one of those things, right? This is what long green flag runs lead to. The races are not decided necessarily on all-out pace, more so on what your pit strategy game looked like.
Well, I think one of the bigger things is that you need a league with long green flag runs to be able to do things like that. If you don't get consistent green flag runs, it doesn't enable the drivers to have the confidence to switch up the strategy and do something alternate to everybody else around them. But when you get long green flag runs like we've had here, you can do it. You can absolutely jump around and do everything. And for Austin Cole, he's used his head a little bit. So he is pit at the leading edge of the window to make it home, but he's made sure that he's at the leading edge. He knows exactly what his fuel number is. He knows exactly where he's targeting. So, but I like the fact he knows that he's got confidence in everyone around him. He's going to get green flag runs. He's driven this car a long way out in front of the competition, and now he's paying the pace price that he has to pay. Have a look at Brody Gunter's pace. He is running him down steadily.
And another drive being run down is Kenny Hoffman. Mark Krinke looking like he wants to go. Looks to the inside as Hoffman down by several laps on tires. Krinke is through, clears, and I don't think Hoffman's going to be able to go for the over-under this time around. Go to Grutzmacher, the next one they're trying to close in. He's got also 5-lap fresher tires in the number 1.
Keeping half an eye on the 01 machine of the Gunter as well. He's taking about a second out of Austin Cole in that most recent lap. He's only about 1.5 behind, so you'll catch him at the tail end of about halfway through the next lap. But he is catching him and catching him very, very quickly.
Down to 1 second for the margin here. Take a look at the last 5 laps, and, well, it tells a story, doesn't it? And, in fact, Corey Rutherford in the pit road, leaving this now a 2-way fight for the top spot. And it was 1.2 the last time by. Gunter's been running him down by about a second a lap very consistently. He's going to be through him in 3.
Ooh, touched the apron too, Austin Cole, which didn't make that easy. But yeah, is he going to cover it? He's going to cover it. Just force him to do something. He's not actually aggressively racing him here. This is just saying, hey, if you want it, you got to do something to get it. You're not just going to show up on the scene and get given the spot. But
well, he did something.
A lot of fight. Yeah.
So Gunter gets through. While that was going on, Dylan Grutzmacher with this pass on Kenny Hoffman. This was for 9th. Pretty much identical to turn 1.
Yeah. And again, it's just that tire offset, isn't it? Josh Rutherford's in a pit lane, 34 to go, so he can't make it on fuel. He's gone as long as he possibly can, cannot make it on fuel. There will be a splash and dash. So now he's got to turn the wick up and go as hard as he can to the end of the race.
I think that's sort of the thing that's happening for a lot of drivers right now. Everybody's kind of in absolute push mode. Austin Cole will have to come in again as well, because he's coming back down to pit road.
Well, that's too soon. That's a splash and dash. So he only ran 17 laps on that set of tires.
Oh, and he nearly got taken out by Joshua Rutherford there. Started in for his pit stall. Take a look at this here. Watch a call. There he is on the right-hand side, and then suddenly slams the brakes in. Think he might have gotten... I think it was still registering Rutherford as being within pit stalls and therefore able to be phased through. I think that's the one thing that saved Cole from being stuffed face first into some concrete.
But he only went 17 laps on that set of... Austin Cole's going to come back to the pits. No, nobody else will have to, I don't believe.
Surely they will. 32 laps to go. Everybody's got to have one more stop left in him. You can't go 30 laps.
Yeah, you're right, but Austin's going to have to come back again.
Huh? Yeah, why would you come back down?
Unless he didn't fill the car?
Well, that doesn't make sense. He took tires on this pit stop. He took 4.
He could have gone 7 laps more on fuel. He definitely had enough fuel to go at least another 7 laps, and that would have been enough to whack the tires and everything else. He's made a mistake. He's going to have to do an extra pit stop. He's not fall off the lead lap.
Oh my gosh. How has that come about? That is insane.
If he can do 27 laps on a fuel, and now he's done 25 most of the night. Well, 25 is 105. We're 5 laps away from that window opening. But he could have made the window.
You want to know what this opens up? This here, what's on screen right now, this is the battle for second. There's your race leader. Gunter could lap the field.
Oh, don't say that.
He genuinely could.
Corey Rutherford's actually just unlapped himself to Brody Gunter as well. So he is on pace, and the fuel saving games have finished for him. And he's going to be flat out to the end of the race here, but the other benefit is he's going to be on fresher tyres in the field to the end of the race, so he's going to make up time. He just took half a second out of Joshua Higgy just ahead of him, 1.5 seconds out of Rene Garcia, 1 second out of Paul Ellison. So you've got Ellison and Garcia next to each other on the road. Higgy is only about a second behind them, and then Corey Rutherford's about 2.5 seconds back from them. So you're actually going to have this closing battle pack between our second through fifth.
I think there's only been one instance where we've seen the entire field be lapped, and it was with the SRA Mini Stock Series over in the 24 to 25 winter season, and that came from Oxford Plains. Within 150 laps, he had lapped every single driver in the field nearly twice over, because he just found something, and his tires just never wore off. He was running the same laps on lap 140 that he was on lap 20, so I don't know how he did it. No one knows how he did it, but he did it. And Gunter, I mean, 32 seconds back to Paul Ellison. He genuinely could do it, because he is closing in on second, and if Corey Rutherford gets held up there, well, it's a matter of time.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really interesting battle. Garcia's now been run down by Higgy. Higgy's going to try and get to his outside in the background of this shot. Cross him over as they come off for 2. I think Josh Higgy just got to his inside, so I think he is going to get that job done. There it is, yeah, that battle. Sorry, that is just been a swap for positions. Garcia just lost that spot.
There's the look. Pretty easily to the inside goes the number 7. Picks him off. And Garcia thought he might try to get him back into turn 1. No dice. Boy, Rutherford is closed in on this scrap as well. So a pretty close fight for third. Not really anywhere else, but for third there is.
I don't know how close this is going to be, because Corey Rutherford's just going to pick them both off on one straight.
Well, let us enjoy the fight we have for now. And you had to ruin it. I blame that on you. You jinxed it.
You know,
you jinxed it.
Pit window's open. Pit window's open to get home. I think Rene Garcia's coming because he's got one set of fresh tires left.
That makes sense to me, right? Get out there on the fresh rubber, do what you can. I genuinely do want to see if Brody Gunter glad to go, because let's be real, that's like the one, when it comes to these types of super dominant drives, this is the one thing that can actually be excited with the lead. Can they really go and get everybody? It doesn't happen often. Very rarely. But it does happen.
I wonder when the panic for Austin Cole sets in when he realizes he pit too soon.
I mean, surely he knows, right? I mean, you've been running, what, 120 laps? There's no way you don't know that the second you hit pit road. Like, oh, crap. I just don't know why you would. I've been racking my brain trying to figure it out. Nothing makes sense.
He's trying to save. You can't do it. That's 33 laps that he would need to run. Nobody's run more than 31 all night.
And that's with people that have been saving an entire stint, which he hasn't been doing.
He's not full throttle on the straights trying to save.
Cole, I appreciate the effort, man, but you made your bed. You gotta lay in it. You're not digging yourself out of that hole with 23 laps to go.
Well, remember that the thing is, he's got maybe about 20 seconds worth of pace that he can give up. So remember, and I'm just making some guesstimates here. Brody Gunter and Austin Cole were about next to each other on the road. There's a couple seconds leeway. So if we give them, maybe 10 seconds, lap time around here is about 36, 37 seconds. So he's got about 25 seconds. He's got a little bit more than my math said earlier. So he can afford to give up 20 seconds and he'll still make it home second. So that's what he's trying to do right now.
I guess. I mean, maybe. I don't see it. I'll trust the numbers, but my gut doesn't tell me it's happening.
I wholeheartedly agree. There is nothing in me that's telling me that's happening.
So, I mean, it's mathematically possible, but you got to be so on the number with that, which I doubt he's going to be, because he's going to be stewing over that mistake, right?
Well, I think the big thing at the moment is that he has got Mark Krinke just ahead of him. I think he's trying to stick with Krinke, use him to save a little bit of fuel, bits and pieces like that. More cars are coming to pit lane, so all these guys are fine.
That was Carson George, the latest one in. And now Brody Gunter, your race leader, comes down for his last stop of the afternoon. 21 laps to go. Make it now 20. You think Gunter's going to lap everyone?
I don't. It depends on whether or not he takes tires. If he doesn't take tires here, then he definitely won't. I think Rutherford's got a little bit extra tires. Yeah, okay. I think Rutherford's actually okay.
You think?
Yeah.
He pitted on 95. I don't think he can go that far.
No, he can't run. He can't make it on fuel. He definitely can't make it on fuel. But that's not what I'm saying. What I was saying was that when everyone else just pit around him, Corey Rutherford was massively faster than a lot of them at that point in time. So I think he's actually going to be okay. Yeah, I think he's driven enough of a pace advantage out that he should be fine.
Well, Corey Rutherford did just take up the lead of the race as well, but that's not going to help as he big time misses the bottom in 3 and 4.
That's the second time we've seen him up there tonight too.
So Rutherford going to at least lead a lap on the afternoon. That's something.
Okay, to give you an example... Actually, no, that example doesn't necessarily work. I was going to try and give you an example of exactly where I think Corey Rutherford v. Austin Cole is going to play itself out, because they're actually quite similar on tyres, but I just recognised. I thought Corey had actually gone a lot further, was on a lot older tyres than he currently is, but he's not. So, but yeah, there is... Austin is... I don't know if he's given up saving. Yeah, he has. No, he's back to saving again.
Well, round 9 of the Blazing Pedals ARCA series from the Action Track over in Richmond, Virginia just came to a close. And there was one driver there that got, he had lapped up to at least 11th place. So if you're just jumping on over from our other Sunday Night NASCAR series, welcome on board. My name is Ola Rempel alongside Scott Rankin. It's been a very interesting strategy race for us all throughout the night, and we're waiting to see how this is going to continue to play out as time goes along. Still in the middle of drivers needed to take one more splash and go to really make it the distance to the end of this 130 lapper. Nick Garcia and Paul Ellison right now, side by side. This is the fight for 7th and 8th, and this is for position. They both come down to pit road for the final time.
Yeah, so this is important. So there's a couple drivers who have come to the pit lane for the final time.
It's
Yeah,
called.
Corey Rutherford does have one set of tires left. If he does, he wants to come for his last set of tires anytime now. And Austin just confirmed he is in very, very hard fuel save mode, by the way, on the radio.
You see him aggressively pulling to the side to let lead lap traffic through as well. So he's doing what he can. I don't think he can do it.
Well, he's saving on the straights, which means he is saving a lot more fuel than the other guys are doing, but you've also got to be lifting massively as well.
I understand the idea, but my thought process is, I mean, I think it's too late. I think if I was him, I would have just bitten the bullet and gone. Just push all out to the end and hope you can get something with the pace you had early on.
I think Dylan's Brutsmarker just said he was trying to make the pit lane last time by, and he's going to run out of fuel.
Uh-oh. Hopefully not.
I think he should be okay.
And imagine, he's in 3 and 4 now.
He just downshifted, he's come to the pit lane.
There you go.
Yeah, he's out. The
Oh,
car just
wow.
switched off.
Kind of lucky on that
He might
one, but
spend-
it's going to be a long pit stop for him. He's going to be coasting all the way down.
Someone who did speed on the pit lane entry is the 25 machine at Nate Morris.
Oh, that's a shame. Speed limits still
Sat there
apply
at
in
one.
Japan just as much as they do stateside, it seems.
Yeah. A 50-mile-an-hour speed limit here tonight, too. Pretty much bang on the pit lane speed limits.
14 laps to go, and for those, again, just tuning in, the question is not whether or not Brody Gunter will win this race, unless he, like, royally bottles it. It's a guarantee he's going to win the race, because we're still waiting for 2nd through 4th to come down the pit road. The question is, can he lap the field in the time he's got left? Ellison has already come down the pit road, so has Garcia, so that's really the mark that Gunter is pushing, but given that everybody's on fresh tires, I think I'm with you now, and I don't think he's going to do it, but he's going to not be far away from it. Battle between...
We're starting to see things resolve. The problem is we haven't seen Corey Rutherford do his final pit stop yet. And based upon how long he's running, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that he's not going to take tires in this stop. It's going to be a splash and go.
So outside
He's
of this...
due in.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
With about 5 to go. So he's doing about 8 laps with 5 to go or so.
So given that it's pretty much confirmed Gunter won't be able to lap everybody, at least not at this pace, you see Kenny Hoffman and Dylan Grutzbach battle for 10. That's one question that needs to be decided. The other question is, can Cole save enough to make it to the end of the race? Which I still think he can't.
Well, he's trying. Again, the problem is the penalty for taking a pit stop is larger than trying to save. So I think the amount of fuel he's saving, I think he can make it.
Well, how much would it be is the question. Like, what kind of the... Oh, look out! Grutzbacher nearly slamming into the back of Hoffman. He misses 3 by a zip code.
So the big key is when we're looking at Austin Cole's times and the marker that he's going to work on is he's going to stay ahead of Paul Ellison. Now, Paul just took 1.2 seconds out of him on the last couple laps. It's been about an average of about 1.2 seconds. Well, Paul is currently 10 seconds behind him, and the problem is that Austin is not quite 10 seconds out of Paul Ellison, so he's close. And Austin there's a little bit of debate on the in-race radio at the moment. And some of it is that Dylan Grutzmarker nearly got commentary cursed and into the outside walls. We were watching this battle, and Austin Cole just responded and said, "Hey, I'm desperate for a caution. Please keep talking about those guys."
It was him. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Not this time. I already cursed the Blazing Pedals race. I don't want to. I wasn't even commentating it. I'm not about to be blamed for this one too.
Comes with the territory, Nolan. You know this.
And for those not sure what I'm talking about, we were watching the Blazing Pedals race just before this went live, and I was mentioning to Scott, hey, they've gone 40 laps granted Richmond. 2 laps later, they had a caution. So,
Nolan has a talent. It's a great talent.
I have been able to commentate races that not only am I not commentating, ones that I am not even actively watching. I find a way to do it. It's something about the aura.
Yeah.
I'm not one for like pseudoscience, like voodoo magic or anything like that, but boy, you put up all the coincidences I've had, and you'd make me at least skeptical in the theory.
I wonder if Josh Rutherford's not trying to make the end of this race as well.
You reckon?
No, there's no way. There's no way. He pit a lap before Austin Cole. He's not saving anywhere near as much. You know what, maybe he is.
Well, the one battle on the racetrack is for 7th between Higi and Krinke. These are 2 drivers that are pretty evenly matched on tires. They both pitted on the same lap, both of them. No, sorry, Krinke did not take tire. No, Higi didn't take tires. Krinke did. See, Higi, we kind of weaving the car a little bit down the straightaway, and that's going to let Krinke get through.
I don't think he's racing him. I think he's just having fun out there tonight.
I mean, may as well, right? What, a 15-point gap just to 2nd place alone.
Corey Rutherford's coming to the lane this time. So he'll have to add 6 laps of gas. No tires for Corey is the quickest way to make this stop.
So Mark Krenke continuing on. Corey Rutherford hitting pit road this time by. Could not make it to the end. So 6 laps to go. Brody Gunter maintains his strong momentum up at the top end of the field. So Gunter gonna keep trying to fight his way to the end of this one. Got just over the 5 laps to go this time by. Going to be a very, very solid outing. And Blazing Pedals just drawing to a close. So once again, welcome to all the folks hopping on over from our other Sunday night race as we tune in for the final 5 laps of action from Mobility Resort Motegi.
Yep, running out of time in this one. There's a couple of strategies that are playing out at the moment. Corey Rutherford's popped back out just over. He is like 3 seconds off the lead lap, so he's not all that far from being on the lead lap. Is Brody going to be able to lap the field? His next target's Paul Ellison, is about a second up the road from him. He took about half a second out on the last lap, so he's not going to quite be able to get there. And here's the thing. The Austin Cole fuel debate's still not decided, and Paul Ellison's 6 seconds back from him. So Ellison's not making the same ground that he was before.
If Cole is able to somehow rebound back from hitting, 10 laps early and be able to survive this to make the distance and still come away with a second, that would be a legendary recovery. Worthy of the record books.
It's not 10, it's 5 laps early. It's about 5-6 laps early, but that is a massive. That would be the longest run that anyone has made all night long.
By far. It wouldn't even be close.
It'd be 2 laps longer. Sorry, it'd be 1 lap. End of lap 97 would be 34 laps time, would be 2 laps longer. The longest run we've had thus far is Joshua Rutherford's. Not the current stint he's on, the one prior was 32 laps. And that was a fuel save stint as well.
Oh, Gunter nearly taking out Travis Fleming there. He's going to lap Paul Ellison, leaving just one, Austin Cole, who is about 6 seconds up the road. And again, the question is, does Brody Gunter get to Cole and get around him? He's got 2 laps to do it. He is several seconds a lap quicker, but I still don't think he's going to be 1 short 1 car short of lapping the field.
Well, okay, here's an interesting statistic for you. Austin doesn't have to save anywhere near as much fuel if he lets Brody Gunter by. He's got an extra lap of fuel that he doesn't have to save.
You're not wrong.
But
Does he care about
is,
pride on finishing on the lead lap or safety more, right?
Yeah, P2. Well, the big thing is, once Austin crosses that start-finish line next time by, he cannot lose a spot.
That is unbelievable from him.
And
I mean,
Austin
seriously.
just said, I usually eat short. He's short, so...
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't know. I don't think he knows that he's the only car that's left on the lead lap bar earlier.
Coming around into turn numbers 3 and 4 for the final time. It is complete and utter domination from the 510 Racing Monster Energy Ford Mustang. Brody Gunter, 1 short of lapping the field off of turn number 4, wins round number 2 at Mobility, round number 10, sorry, at Mobility Resort Motegi. Now, Call should be able to make it around, surely by now.
Maybe.
Still a
But
maybe.
it doesn't actually matter. It actually doesn't matter. He will always finish second now because everybody else behind him's finished the race. So.
How about that? I mean, coming around after all of that, was set to have to make a second pit stop and probably finish outside of the top 10. Comes home to recover to second. Unbelievable recovery drive from Austin Cole. Cannot believe he made that work. That is ridiculous that paid off the way it did.
My word. The whole field was sitting there waiting for him to run out too, so. Oh, Joshua Rutherford made it as well.
No kidding. How about that?
He finishes 4th.
Good stuff. A lot of good field drives there in the closing stages, and there you see the first driver to take win number 3 of the season. So 10 races, 6 different winners, and only 3 have gotten 2 wins. Only 1 of them has gotten 3. So no doubt Brody Gunter, a very happy camper right now. He'll burn it down on the front straightaway.
I think he's enjoying the trip to Japan. There's a lot of tire manufacturers out in this region of Asia, and he's displaying what a good burnout looks like. And again,
lost in the smoke.
Look, I'm going to complain. I've got some critique. That burnout was not perfect this week.
Well, the front stretch is banked a little bit, isn't it, or is it perfectly flat?
Oh, tiny little bit of banking. It's very close to flat, though.
Well, the tiny bit of banking. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, but he's going to come home with win number 3 of his of the 3rd season of the ASRL Xfinity Series presented by Purple A's Autosport. 1 shy of lapping the field. Austin Cole runs out as he somehow makes the recovery drive to finish in 2nd. Paul Ellis in the first car, 1 lap down in 3rd. Josh Rutherford was in 4th. Garcia in 5th. Corey Rutherford back in 6th. Krinke in 7th. Hickey in 8th. And then it's Grutzmacher and Williams to close out the top 10.
From 11th on back, you got Kenny Hoffman, who slid a little bit as that race progressed, was running very strong in the early phase of the race. Carson George as well was up at the point and lost a lot of spots. Alex Howland, the last car home, 1 lap down. From here on back, we get into 2 or more. Jake Erickson from Nate Morris, Travis Fleming at 4 down. Matt Croak, unfortunately, in early retirement. Steve Tibbs, remember, retired all the way back at the start of the race.
One of the cars that brought out our only yellow flag of the night as well, way back on lap number 4, and it was green to the finish from there. And, well, we got the chance now to give a chit-chat here to all the drivers that come home with a stellar outing from Mobility Resort Motegi. And, of course, we'll look to kick it off first and foremost with your race winner, Brody Gunter, as we will work to track down the 3-time winner of the season. He dominated season 2. Has not been the domination of the season, but it has been the domination of the night for sure, as Brody Gunter comes home with win number 3. Brody, 1 shy of lapping the field on that one. Talk us through a strategy-filled race tonight in Japan.
I'm just happy to get through this. What a heck of a weekend I've had from yesterday, hitting a wall head on at 90 miles an hour
Ooh.
in a race. Yeah, and a concrete wall and absolutely destroying the car. And it was going to be a 40 lap race. I only did 4 of them, to going all through the night last night, not be able to sleep in the car. And probably getting only a total of 4 to at most 5 hours of sleep today. So the last 2 days, and then this, I just wanted to make it through. I didn't think I was gonna come out on top with a win. But I mean, I'll take it. I mean, the strategy was just kind of just drive. I had no really true strategy. I just went to kind of turn out fuel. The only really lap that was like planned was the pit the second time, 54. But that was about it.
A stellar outing for you this afternoon, and this being our last international race, kind of ending our Europe and Asian swing here. It's back stateside for the rest of the season. Avondale's up next, followed by Darlington. 2 extremely difficult racetracks to close out the regular series season, but you've shown that you can excel at those more difficult racetracks, as evidenced by a dominating drive tonight. What do you reckon we can see from this 01 coming over the next 2 weeks?
Well, as always, if I can make it, I hope to just, continue the speed I do, seem to have. I feel like I'm getting better, at least on my long runs. Luckily, I think burning more fuel than others didn't hurt me as much as tonight, as it has sometimes in the past. So, this is actually a track I've, somehow really come to enjoy. Really fun track. Kind of like Darlington and Gateways. Almost happy medium between the two. Making it a very kind of fun track. Sometimes it can be a little spread out and not as racy, but still a very fun track. But yeah, those coming up, I am hopefully looking forward to Iowa, especially, not Iowa, if I say, hopefully looking forward to Phoenix coming up. As I have a paint for that one. Is Darlington, not as much looking forward to that, as that's usually one that never goes well for me.
You were almost 200 points clear from the bump spot entering tonight. With this win, you're only going to extend on that gap. Is that going to change your mentality, being effectively locked into the playoffs at this point?
I mean, I'm never really concerned about points. I don't really look at them. I just kind of race and just kind of race smart and clean. I don't see any point in one stressing out over and affecting how you drive. I mean, it's not like I look at them obviously, but I don't go into a race worrying about who's where and who's doing what. Just what's going on in the moment, and taking things as they go, lap by lap, race per race. So I mean, I probably drive the same way I have been, doing, just going for a win or just a competitive finish, trying to be smart and but same time aggressive. Just hopefully trying to carry the huge run I had today. I mean, I don't have my surprise when I was lapping Paul, and then Austin came, my relative, and I was like, oh, it's second place. Holy cow! I've like lapped the whole field almost.
Well, Brody, congratulations on win number 3 this afternoon, and we'll see you next week when we jump back over the pond to Avondale.
All right, thank you guys.
Brody Gunter comes home number 1 this afternoon. We'll move on down to give a chit-chat here to Austin Cole, the Texas-dependent racing driver, making arguably one of the best fuel recovery drives that we have seen all year long in any league on Green Flag TV. He is standing by with Scott Rankin.
Austin, we all saw you pit, and we looked at the number and went, he can't make it from there. What went on with that final pit stop and coming to the lane several laps early?
I wanted to try something. That's all I got. I was like, well, I was looking at Joshua and Corey and just seeing how far they were going on fuel. And at the time, I thought Corey was going to make it to the end and was going to beat me. So I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So I ended up having 0.2 laps of fuel crossing the finish line after lifting, coasting the entire run.
I mean, it was an exceptional effort that you made in the middle of that one, because I was monitoring. You were lifting on the straights. You weren't at 100% throttle pressure on some of the straights. Was there a lot of nerves through that stint? Because I get the feeling you didn't even think you could make it.
So when I first pit, I thought I could make it, and then about halfway through, I'm like, oh, I'm still 2 laps short. This is bad. So I started lifting it instead of the 200 marker board. I started lifting at 250, and I started holding in the clutch, having the ignition off longer, and just doing like a little bit extra every lap to save. But that was a really bad idea. I don't know why I did that. That was really stupid.
That's answers the next question.
So my ignition's on my keyboard too. So
dear.
I was driving one-handed the entire run. Just pressing my eye on my keyboard to turn off the ignition every corner, multiple times per corner depending on lift points and stuff.
Well, I'm glad that you learned a lesson here tonight. I don't know how long it'll stick. I think the big one to talk to you about next week is, look, I'm the guy out here that I'm always the crazy idiot that's running the stupid fuel strategies, and I know what I can and what I can't do. Austin, you sound like you went into that one with no knowledge of what you could and what you couldn't do. I think there's some research to do before the next races, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit.
Congratulations on P2 here tonight, brother. Who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank my family for letting me do this stuff. Especially my grandma. She watches all the races. She gave me an amazing drive text after this one. So always like having them watch, and yeah, that's about it. And then Texas Independent Racing, even though they're not technically my an online team, they're my real life Legends team. And yeah.
Mate, congratulations on P2. Look, you go settle the nerves down a fair bit more, and maybe have a think about how you're going to prep to do some fuel strategy and some saving next time out. I think you learned a big lesson about pace doesn't win them all, but fuel saving is an easy way to lose them.
Yeah, I'm glad that Paul Ellison got lapped because I was actually short until I saw Paul got lapped, and I was like, oh, I can actually just coast this last lap.
All right, congratulations here tonight, mate. See you next week.
All right, thank you. See you next week.
And finally, Nolan is going to be chatting to the driver that Austin was just mentioning. He was very happy that it unfortunately went a lap down. He's got Paul Ellison right alongside of him.
Paul, you ended up losing the lead lap right at the buzzer, ended up being the first driver one lap down, but despite that, third place, still really good at the end of the night. You had a bit of a fight ahead of you to make this one work this afternoon. Kind of talk us through how your race was like with that number 55, because, boy, this ended up going long.
Yeah, I pretty much knew Brody and Austin were probably going to be the two to beat. I was hoping I could do decently, and at the beginning, I kind of saw that me and Renee were going to kind of pull away from people. So I knew it was going to pretty much just be a battle between me and Renee. And then you had people saving fuel and doing all that stuff. So I didn't know how it was going to play out. So I just stuck to my plan and did the best I could. And then I just talked to Renee over the Discord a little bit. And he told me he took 2 tires at the end. So that's how I got by him so quick. So he made a little mistake there. So that made it a little bit easier. But yeah, I was hoping Austin would run out of fuel and I'd get to him. But it just didn't happen. Brody was just insanely strong.
Hard to complain regardless about the results at the end of the day. A good third place finish for you. One of the best finishes we've seen out of you all season long. That said, still looking like that bubble spot for the chase going to be a little bit distant here in this one as we are gearing up with only 2 races left of the regular series season. Do you reckon you still have a shot to get into it, or are you looking to just go for last minute glories here before the season's out?
Oh, no, I absolutely will not be able to get to it. I travel with work, and I will not be back for 3 or 4 weeks. So this will be my last race for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then maybe I'll get to run 1 or 2 more before the season ends. But, you know, when I'm home, I do it, and if I'm not here, it's just the way it is right now. But it's been fun.
Season number 4, going to be running into the fall. Do you reckon to maybe make a return then in season 4 and make a gun for the championship, or is it going to be kind of case by case like this season was?
It'll be the same as this season. It's just the way things are right now. I may go through a period of time where I don't travel a lot. I may get to run a whole season again, but I don't know. It's just one of those things I kind of don't know. But, you know, I've been in ASRL. It was the first league I joined 4 or 5 years ago, and I've run the ovals as much as I can. And, you know, Corey and Josh are my buddies, so I try to support Corey whenever I can. And it's just a fun league to run, and I just really enjoy it.
Well, at the very least, you're able to close out your time with one more podium to finish things off. Congratulations on that third, and we'll see you whenever we see you next.
All right. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all for broadcasting this. I just want to give a shout out to Amy. And then I do want to say one thing. Brody is a heck of a kid. He's a heck of a driver. Anybody in the real world that watches this and sees him drive, he had a bad wreck this weekend in his Legends car. I feel bad for him. And I wish somebody would throw somebody at that kid. He's a great kid, and he's a heck of a person, and his parents should be very proud of him. And I just want to make sure I say that.
Paul Ellison comes home third this afternoon for the drive to Alexandria, Alabama. And, well, Scott, that does it for the podium interviews. Great sportsmanship, though. I always love to hear people talking good about other drivers like that. It does kind of, I think, remind everybody, you know, we're not just competitors. We're friends at the end of the day, aren't we?
There are some people out there on racetracks that I'm not friends with, but look, I mean, this series is I think we said it a while back, is that one of the reasons why we like this series and why we like broadcasting is at the end of the day, these guys take it out on each other on the track, but they do that with the confidence of going, hey man, I pushed the margins, I pushed them really, really aggressively. What did you think of that tonight? And they take that feedback from the other drivers. That's why I like being here over a lot of other leagues. And talking about this one, and you know, for Brody to have such a big accident yesterday, not got a whole lot of sleep. I hope that he's okay. I hope that he's been checked for concussions and those sorts of things. And that's something that's. I'm a racer as well. You're a commentator from a real world racetrack, and I've been concussed and I've been in big wrecks. I got thrown over the handlebars quite aggressively, a number of years ago, in my youth. So you know. We all understand it. We all understand the risks that we take, but yeah, at the same time, it's just good to see him back out here. Hopefully he's okay. Everything's doing fine. And he catches up on some sleep, which appears to be the biggest issue he's got at the moment. I can't believe that.
Well, no doubt we're going to be catching up with some sleep here before too long, but that's going to bring us to a close of our Sunday triple header this afternoon. Coming on up on Green Flag TV on Monday night, it's the High Tide Racing League Guardian Premier Series, swinging out to Bristol Motor Speedway. Austin Edstrom and I bring you all the action on Monday nights. ASRL swings out to Iowa for race number 2. The Beer League will swing out to the Magellan Circuit for round number 3, with Texas Motor Speedway playing host to round 12 of the Speed Cup Series and their final race of the regular series season. That will then leave us with the SRE Nats Classic Series for round 2 of the Auto Club Speedway, followed up by double headers with the Blades and Pedals ARCA Series and ASRL when we go racing next Sunday. As always, if you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, you can check us out at www.greenflagtv.com. As always, my name is Ola Rempel, alongside Scott Rankin. 2 races to go before we get to playoff season. We'll see you next week when we go racing in Avondale.